Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, August 21st, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by Steve Helwagen. Steve, we will, of course, talk to Urban Meyer today around 12:30, so he will be able to confirm or deny this. But we are hearing Brandon Bowen has emerged as the starter at right guard. Now, things can still change, still, about a week and a half till the opener, but it sounds like Brandon Bowen has won this job. Just if that's true, your thoughts on Brandon Bowen emerging as a starter?
Well, I think that's obviously a development, and he was a big-time offensive lineman that they took out of Utah a couple of years ago, and it was interesting. You go into the preseason, you're thinking, well, this is Malcolm Pridgeon or Matthew Burrell or Demetrius Knox, and now it's Brandon Bowen. So this is something that's been in the offing. I mean, you think this guy by his second or third year was going to be, pushing for playing time, and there he is. I mean, he's right there. He was one of the top offensive line prospects around when they signed him a couple of years ago. So I think that it makes sense. Like, from what it appears, it looks like Knox is helping out more at tackle, that Pridgeon may be doing some tackle and guard. I'm not sure where that leaves Matthew Burrell, but I guess as of right now, they must believe that Bowen gives them the best five-man unit up there with the other four returning starters.
I love it. And what a huge offensive line, too. I mean, Jamarco Jones is like Pee-wee of the group at 6'5", 310, and all these guys move well. They're big guys. You don't see a lot of floppy bellies on these guys. I mean, we're talking Billy Price might be one of the strongest, biggest centers you'll ever see at 6'4", 315. He's just solid as a rock. I mean, you look at Jamarco Jones is athletic. Isaiah Prince, for all the whatever you want to say about Isaiah Prince, the guy is an athletic, 6'7", 315-pound man. Michael Jordan, very athletic for his size. Brandon Bowen's another guy, 6'7", 320. And I mean, he looks like he didn't even have much body fat on him. He's just a solid guy. So this is one of the bigger offensive lines that we will have seen at Ohio State, and one of the bigger offensive lines in the country. But Steve, they're athletic too. I mean, these guards can pull, these tackles can move, and Billy Price is athletic.
Yeah, it should be exciting to see where this offensive line begins. 2017, they played very well, I thought, for the first two-thirds maybe of the 2016 season, and then things kind of fell apart for them down the stretch with Michigan State, Michigan, Clemson. Obviously, those three games they did not play well. So I'm interested to see what the starting point is for this offensive line, and if they can take it from there and get better. That will be the big thing I would look at. You want to be playing their best football down the stretch, obviously with Michigan at the end, and then into possibly the Big Ten championship game, or from there on into the playoffs. So I think that that's what Ohio State fans want to see, this team peaking at the right time of the year.
Let's look at the running back position. We got a chance to speak with running backs coach Tony Alford on Friday after practice, one of the most charismatic guys on the staff. I mean, I love interviewing Tony Alford, and he says that, the good news, Mike Weber is back practicing. They're still taking it easy on him. What do you make of this, Steve? I know I'm asking you kind of looking at your crystal ball a little bit, but here we are a week and a half away from the opener. Weber still isn't 100% healthy. Hamstrings can linger. Are you concerned? If you're a Buckeye fan out there, should you be concerned about this Mike Weber situation? Or do you think this is much ado about nothing?
Well, I think until he practices in his full go, I think it is a little bit of a question. As I look at it, for him to basically miss preseason camp and then be expected to go in there and be a 15 or 20 carry a game guy, I think that's a lot to ask for. So the sooner he's able to get back in there and practice full go and do what they need him to do, I think the better it'll be. I think it's a good sign that they're playing Demario McCall at both running back and H-back receiver at this point, because it seems to me like they must be happy with what they're getting from J.K. Dobbins and Antonio Williams. And it also says to me that deep down they really do believe Weber is going to be okay, because if he wasn't, you would think that McCall would be repping almost entirely at running back, and he's not. He's back in the receiver room. So that's one thing for him at least. they keep jockeying him between the two spots, and you just hope he's such a dynamic playmaker in my mind that they find a way to get him on the field. Of course, they've got that issue with a lot of guys. You've got about 8 or 9 guys between the running back and the wide receiver group that are all clamoring to get on the field, and I can't think of anybody in those groups that we don't expect to see. I mean, I think they're all going to play, including Dobbins, a true freshman. Seems like he's going to get a lot of work at running back. If I had to guess, if you plotted it out for the season, that Weber will probably average 15 to 20 carries a game, and Dobbins maybe pushing 10, and maybe Williams pushing 5 or 10, and then Barrett probably, you always say less than 10 would be great, and he ends up with 15, and in the big games he ends up with 20. So I guess we know what that game plan will look like, although you do have a new coordinator. But I think the running game is in good hands. You don't have the one bell cow like you had with Ezekiel Elliott or Carlos Hyde, but you've got 3 or 4 very able guys who can really make defenses pay. I think in Weber's situation, they posted the 40 times for everybody, and I want to say he was like 4.35, 4.36, and Dobbins was just a tick faster than him at like 4.35 or 4.34, something along those lines. And I don't know that I believe in those times, verbatim 100%, because when they get to the NFL Combine, there's very few guys who are sub 4.4. But at any rate, that tells you that Weber has improved his speed at least a little bit, and maybe instead of the shoestring tackles that he had last year, if he's able to display that speed, he could put some away, some long runs that he did not have last year.
As you mentioned, and J.K. Dobbins is going to play a lot. I mean, that's just crystal clear after talking to Tony Alford. It was pretty clear before that, but after talking to Coach Alford, I mean, there's just absolutely no doubt. I mean, he absolutely gushed about Dobbins. I mean, he just gushed about him, and he stopped short of saying that there's a legitimate battle to be the starter. And fans jumped all over this quote. Like when I asked Tony, I said, "Is there, is Mike clearly the starter? Or is there a little bit of a competition to be the starter with J.K. and Mike?" And he said, "Oh, no, Mike is our starting running back right now." And everybody jumped on the right now. I don't think he meant anything by that, but let's forget about a competition to be the starter. The bottom line is J.K. Dobbins he's just impressed his coaching staff to the nth degree, and he's going to play a lot this year. I mean, Buckeye fans, it's time to get excited about J.K. Dobbins if you're not already. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think your story that you had said that Dobbins has picked things up faster than any other freshman running back that Tony Alford's ever had, and that's a very encouraging thing to hear him say. He's a veteran coach and seen and been a lot of places. So I think that's a good sign for Dobbins. I think the other thing is, from what everybody said, he's been very effective running between the tackles and getting yards after contact. And I think that is something that I don't know that he's a brute or a 230-pound bruiser by any means, but he is a tough kid, and I think that is what's going to serve him well in that running back spot. They don't have that 225, 230-pound guy who just pounds at people, but they have a handful of guys who they can rotate and have fresh legs in the game and exploit that, hopefully, and that'll be a difference for the running game. If they can get 200 to 250 yards rushing per game on a consistent basis, it's just going to open so much more up for the offense.
And before I let you go, Steve, let's touch on the defense. Not a lot of drama on the defense, which I absolutely love. I will say this. I think entering camp, a lot of people, we all knew they were going to have a 3-man rotation at corner. We all knew Denzel Ward was going to lead the charge there. And the question was Damon Arnette or Kendall Sheffield. And a lot of people, myself included, said Sheffield will probably be the starter. They'll all play, but Sheffield will probably be the starter. Arnette will be the third guy in. Wrong. Arnette will be the starter opposite Ward, it sounds like. And Sheffield will rotate in still. But it sounds like Arnette's had a really good camp, and he's emerged as the clear second best corner on this team. They're very high on Damon Arnette. That's clear after talking to Kerry Combs. Just your thoughts on Arnette, proving people like me wrong.
Yeah, I think Arnette, the situation with him was, I don't know that he was such a serious guy the first year or two. He's been at OSU, and now he's starting to, the light bulb has kind of gone on for him that, hey, you really do have to be a technician. You really do have to be on top of your technique and your awareness and coverages and everything else. And he has become very diligent in that regard. Ward is one of the most conscientious kids on the team. And the other thing about him, you know, the story that I wrote on a team full of freak athletes or guys with freakish athleticism, he's one of the freakiest. You know, that 40-yard thing, they have him at 4.23, which there are very few humans on the face of the planet who can run the 40 legitimately in 4.23. But even if he's around 4.3, that's still pretty good. And then not only that, he's got a 39-inch vertical leap, and he's in the top 3 or 4 in just about all of the 7 to 8 or 9 agility categories, which is like the cone drill, the pro shuttle, the 10-yard dash, the 20-yard dash, the 60-yard dash. I mean, they measure everything these guys do. And however you want to measure it, Ward is a freakish athlete. So I think he's the lead dog in this thing. And then Arnette's not too far away from him in a lot of those marks. He's right there. But, you know, Arnette may be more of a physical player, and I think that's good to see. And Sheffield's also high up there on a lot of those marks as well. So to me, it sounds like a great situation. Sheffield's had some experience at the junior college level, and he'll mix in there. It was, to me, Dave, it was kind of interesting. Everybody thought it was the Lattimore and Conley show last year, but in doing some research, it seems that Ward was actually on the field for 53% of the defensive plays last year. So that'll tell you how committed Kerry Combs and the defensive coaches are to rotating the corners, and that tells you that Sheffield is probably going to get a lot of work, even though he may not be out there for the first play or the first series or however you want to qualify the starter, but he's going to get a lot of work. And they're also going to mix in Jeffrey Okuda. That's pretty obvious, too, that he's a true freshman who's going to play. And Sean Wade has a chance as well. They said Marcus Williamson was looking good coming into the fall, but he had an injury that kind of held him out. And Amir Reep is just kind of learning the ropes as a freshman who just enrolled. So you've got a little bit of the new, a little bit of the old, and yet, as Ward said, we know Indiana and Oklahoma are going to come out and throw the ball early and often against them and test those young corners, or young or new corners is probably the best way to put it, and check out that secondary and see what they can do.
Great insights, as always, from my guy, Steve Helwagen. Action-packed show here. Action-packed day over at the WAC. Like I said, we're interviewing Urban Meyer around 12:30. Scheduled for 12:10, but they're usually running about 15 or 20 minutes late. So probably around 12:30 we'll interview Coach Meyer. Then we're getting Larry Johnson and a few defensive linemen. So a big day over at the WAC again with Coach Meyer, Coach Johnson, and the defensive linemen. Thanks again to Steve Helwagen, and thanks again to all the listeners out there for tuning in to the show. I appreciate it and hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.
Buckeye.